The Unplugged Alpha. The No Bullsh *T Guide to Winning with Women and Life. Edited by I dedicate this book to all the men around the world that never had a strong, masculine male role model, growing up to teach them about the cold, hard truth of modern women and the world we live in.
4 definitions. Definition 1, sugar baby. A young woman who dates wealthy men in exchange for financial support. Definition 2, baby rabies. An overwhelming desire to have children, often leading to desperate or irrational behavior. Definition 3, hissy fits. A display of sudden, uncontrolled anger or frustration. Definition 4, drama queens. People who habitually create or exaggerate emotional situations.
Red flag 13, women seeking validation. Red flag 14. She was a sugar baby. Red flag 15. Pathological liars. Red flag 16. Baby rabies. Red flag 17. Hissy fits. Red flag 18. Not being in control of the birth. Red flag 19. Drama queens. Red flag 20. Addictions. Conclusion. The cold hard truth. 5. Single mothers.
Definition. Cuckoldry, when a man takes on the financial, parental, and emotional burden of raising another man's children.
Cuckoldry, responsibility, without authority, the victim mindset, financial issues, reprioritization, the big risk when dating a single mother. Might make sense, the cold hard truth. 6. Hire slowly but fire quickly. My single mommy, experience, the business partner, experience, the cold hard truth. 7. Looks, money, status, and game. Looks, money, status, game, the cold hard truth. 8. Manage your endocrine system.
Definition. Testosterone, a male sex hormone.
Optimal versus normal, my TRT protocol, how to boost testosterone naturally. In conclusion, the cold hard truth. 9. Manage the fucks you give. Self-control, mastering self-control, how do you strengthen self-control? The cold hard truth. 10. Getting to girls online. The cold hard truth about online dating. Forward. I met Rich Cooper in 2016. I'm loath to call it a meeting, since it seems like no one really meets anyone face-to-face these days, at least not in the online spheres. Rich hit me up via email and asked me to come on his YouTube podcast, Entrepreneurs in Cars, for an interview. While the interview is still available on his channel, I really wish I still had that first email exchange.
Definition. Red pill, a perspective shift involving the recognition of certain social and interpersonal dynamics, often challenging mainstream beliefs about relationships, gender roles, and power dynamics.
I was 2 books into the Rational Male series by then and was working on the 3rd. This was when I got a lot of requests for interviews. I guess this sounds conceived, but the Rational Male was maturing into the Bible of the red pill then. Preventive medicine was getting traction, and I was consumed with the writing compiling of Positive Masculinity that year. I wasn't doing interviews. Hell, I didn't even show my face until 2017, but something about Rich's email struck me as raw honesty. I've always been very hesitant to talk with guys who I got a grifter vibe from, but I didn't get that from Rich. He was sincere in his appreciation for what I put in, the Rational Male, in a way that made me think. All right, I'll take an hour to talk with him. I'm glad I did. Since that first meeting, Richard Cooper has become a good friend, business associate, and a mind with whom I could bounce ideas off of. He's a man who's experienced a lot, has the stripes to prove it, but more so, he was honest in his assessments.
Definition. Manosphere, a conglomerate of online communities and personalities that focus on issues and perspectives relevant to men, often encompassing a range of views on relationships, masculinity, and social dynamics.
In this crazy manosphere conglomerate of online personalities, there are a lot of damaged men. Physically or psychologically, guys in this sphere can be insane. Some only mildly, some very intensely, some are well-meaning, while others are just malicious. It's rare to find the normal guy among the autistics. Every man in this sphere is looking for answers, but what they do when they acquire those answers, and who they become after they gain that awareness, is based on where they began when they started looking. Rich is a guy I would hang out with had I initially met him in real life. I didn't meet Rich face-to-face until September 2017. But when I did, we just talked like old friends. No pretense, no fawning admiration, just 2 men who related like men. Although, That might sound stupidly mundane in the foreword of a book by today's standards in the TL, DR generation of the sphere. I think he may have mentioned something about my work saving his life, but beyond that, we became fast friends. Since then, Rich and I have worked on collaborations both good and unwise. Even through the worst of decisions, Rich has proven a good and balanced friend. But at the risk of glossing him up too much, Rich is honest with himself, and this is the prime requisite of a true author. So, it is with that where I will leave Richard Cooper, and you the reader, with a note of advice from one author to another. Stay honest with yourself, and read this book with the intent of internalizing the ideas contained within. My unplugging.
Image summary. The image contains a quote and a paragraph of text. The quote is from Eleanor Roosevelt about learning from the mistakes of others. The text describes a period of personal hardship and contemplation of suicide. It suggests a need for personal change and updating one's belief system.
Learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself. When it came to making mistakes, 2011 to 2015 were terrible years for me. I'd barely survived a divorce, my award-winning business was almost in ruins, and my heart was in pieces from a terrible experience with a single mom that I'd dated post-divorce. I knew I'd hit rock bottom when I was seriously contemplating suicide. I remember driving my truck on the highway and thinking to myself, if I just nail it, take off my seatbelt, and slam into an overpass freeway concrete pillar, it'll all be over quickly. I was living in what psychologists have referred to as a safe world theory, a belief system that is a place of refuge, and it was completely shattered during these years. Towards the beginning of 2016, I had all the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. Something needed to change, and fast. But it wasn't the world, government, or women that needed to change. It was me. I needed to wake up and update my belief system because what I was doing, clearly, wasn't working. In December 2016, I started my recovery when I was at a prestigious men's retreat. An attendee recommended a book called The Rational Male by Rollo Tomassi. It kickstarted my path to clearer thinking and helped me unplug from comforting lies. I soon saw the uncomfortable truths about the world that we, as men, all too often struggle through. It's a book that opens with the question, why do my eyes hurt? And the answer, you've never used them before. The quote is taken from the movie The Matrix. During this infamous scene, Morpheus offered 2 pills to Neo, one blue and another red. The blue pill offers a viewpoint that is one of falsehood, security, and the blissful ignorance of illusion. The red pill perspective offers us men the knowledge, freedom, and the sometimes painful truth of reality. I had subscribed to the notion that good, virtuous, and strong will always prevail over all things bad, painful, and evil. However, severe blows to my belief system forced me to question that notion and adapt accordingly.
2 definitions. Definition 1, female-first primary social order. A societal structure that prioritizes the needs, values, and interests of women, often influencing laws, policies, and cultural norms. Definition 2, family law, deals with family matters and domestic relations.
At the age of 38, I began the divorce process, 2 years after my only child was born. I quickly experienced the gut-wrenching reality of how badly family law treats men in today's Western world. How family law and a female-first primary social order encourages women to behave horribly and without remorse towards the child's father. On top of that, during the separation period, I was also forced to defend an attack on the company I founded 10 years earlier. This attack by credit card issuers with massive legal teams threatened to put us out of business by changing legislation that would financially strangle us. After getting off a phone call updating my business coach in 2011, I vividly remember closing the door to my office and turning away from the window, so my staff couldn't see me. I then put my face into the palm of my hands and began crying uncontrollably. Only 2 years prior, I was on cloud 9. I had built a multi-million-dollar custom home, I was married to a lawyer who I thought was my soulmate, and I was the father to a healthy child. Within 1 year, I'd paid off my mortgage and then bought my dream car. Suddenly, I felt like my world was burning down around me. Before the divorce, my family and close friends always relied on me for being their rock, for being unshakable. Feeling this way was completely unlike me. I spent $60,000 on lobbyists and a year and a half of my life trying to save my business. I was in charge of 23 employees, and we had thousands of customers. To make the business viable again, we had to pivot into an almost impractical direction, which put me in a position where I needed to become the lowest paid person in my company. The final blow that led to my awakening came in 2015, after putting almost 3 years into a relationship with a single mother and her 2 young boys. I was betrayed in ways I couldn't fathom by a woman who I believed in and trusted. I put a massive amount of personal equity into a woman and her children, only to be abused, lied to, and ultimately cheated on by her. My entire world was an illusion, and it completely shattered my beliefs. After that breakup, and for longer than I care to admit, I was re-experiencing the trauma through intrusive, distressing recollections of the events, flashbacks, and nightmares. I routinely woke up at 3 a.m. and couldn't fall back asleep as my mind was subconsciously trying to reconcile what happened. I started experiencing emotional numbness and began avoiding places, people, and activities that reminded me of the trauma. I also had great difficulty concentrating and getting things done. These were all symptoms of PTSD. Trauma is a normal reaction to abnormal events that overwhelm a person's ability to adapt to life, leaving you believing that you were powerless. One thing that happens when you take the proverbial red pill is your senses become heightened and more aware. You gain a new sense of clarity. Things or events that may have fooled you before become more obvious, and you really begin to understand why certain events happened in your past. We call the process unplugging, and we do it by updating our old belief system. While some men get angry when they unplug from beliefs that weren't serving them, it calmed me. I became aware. Events in my life that previously didn't add up finally made sense, and I wanted to see how far down the metaphorical rabbit hole I could go. I needed an outlet and somewhere to express the lessons I was learning about how to live life in today's world as a man. Fortunately, as I already had a platform, an audience, and a test bed to get feedback on my theories, I dove right in. After becoming frustrated with my divorce and the attacks on my business from competitors, on May 23, 2014, I created a YouTube channel to marry up my 2 biggest passions in life: entrepreneurship and fast cars. I made videos and uploaded them to YouTube and called the channel Entrepreneurs in Cars. It started out showcasing my entrepreneurial friends in their success rides, then giving away business tips and lessons from the trenches as an entrepreneur. But I soon ran out of friends with cool cars and stories to tell. That was when a regular viewer of my work said, "Do a video on the different types of women to avoid dating." Well, I had just broken up with my single mother and had plenty of experience on what not to do in life. So I began sharing those stories and letting my wounds become my work. Since I began talking about how men could become better by adopting a red-pilled lens to viewing the world, I've had over 40 million views on my YouTube channel. Questions soon flooded in from my viewers seeking clarity on areas in life they were stuck on, mostly dating, divorce, marriage, self-care, business, and money. I also took so many questions from people going through their own unplugging struggles that I started coaching them one-on-one. I began taking copious notes and making videos on the lessons that I learned. This book is a collection of my own personal experiences, the feedback from my community, and the thousands of people I have coached through their personal problems. Many men have called me the father they never had. That I've taught them, by navigating this world with the truth that a red pill lens offers, how they could live a better, more fulfilling, and happier life that enabled them to fulfill their purpose. I believe that it's my style of dispensing these experiences and cold hard truth bombs that has helped others connect the dots and see the world as it truly is. However, I must warn you, some of these stories and lessons may be inconvenient and many will shock you. Remember, the truth doesn't care about feelings or political correctness. Also, comforting lies always sell better than uncomfortable truths. Ultimately, men live in a difficult time today as we are living in a feminine-first, primary social order. Men must embrace their masculinity and completely surrender to the notion that, by employing masculine virtues, there is a place for men to become the best version of themselves in today's world. Society, culture, religion, the government, mainstream media, and Hollywood all lied to us. Which is why I believe wholeheartedly that a man's true mental health and happiness begins with an ability to navigate through life seeing things as they truly are, not as we've been told they are. To get the most out of this book, clear your head and then really open your mind. Many of the concepts that I discuss will not be popular and some will be opposed. But, as I always tell my audience, the truth will first piss you off, then it will set you free if you let it.
Definition. Frame the overall context, mindset, and boundaries that a person establishes in a relationship or interaction, influencing the dynamics and power balance.
Look, I am not university trained, with fancy pieces of paper with letters after my name, framed in mahogany on my wall. Like you, I'm just an ordinary guy that wanted to work on himself. A guy that can use a lot of key life experiences to point to some facts about life, self-care, women, money, masculinity, and navigating the sexual marketplace. I truly hope you enjoy this book and the invaluable life lessons contained within. Peace. Richard Cooper. The female primary social order. One of the most difficult concepts guys struggle with today is that men live in a female-first social order. This is why I'm placing this chapter early in the book, because it's important for men to understand how we, as a society, value the feminine over the masculine, and also why that is. Until a man accepts this reality and updates his core beliefs, he will forever struggle with the reality the red pill brings. The average man has been fed a steady diet of silly narratives his entire life, such as, women are oppressed, the patriarchy is evil, masculinity is toxic, all men are rapists, women are victims, and women get paid less than men for the same work. In actuality, none of these narratives bear any close resemblance to the facts. This outrage is manufactured by a female-first, primary social order, with it originating from a toxic version of feminism that is no longer about equality, but rather female dominance and male submission. When you pay attention, you will notice an ongoing narrative that dismisses the plight of men, and even somehow makes women the victim of male disposability. Hillary Clinton illustrated this eloquently when she said, "Women have always been the primary victims of war. Women lose their husbands, their fathers, their sons in combat."
Image summary. This image contains text discussing the concept of men being the disposable sex, referencing Hillary Clinton's statement about women being the primary victims of war despite men dying in combat. It introduces Dr. Warren Farrell, who initially advocated for feminism, but later realized that women are the protected sex, not the oppressed one. The text suggests that discussing the plight of men is often dismissed and ridiculed in a female-first social order, leading to accusations of misogyny.
So, men die in war, but women are the most affected. As if to say that the often painful death of a soldier fighting for freedom is simply insignificant. Men, the disposable sex. Dr. Warren Farrell is a soft-spoken educator, activist, and author on gender issues. He was the only man ever to be elected 3 times to the board of the National Organization for Women, which is a feminist organization, and spent much of his life advocating for feminism. During his work advocating for women, a switch flipped in his head when he realized that women are, in fact, not the oppressed sex. Instead, women are the protected sex. But when we change the discussion and talk about a female primary social order that's not being the victim of men, then it invites anger, disbelief, and ridicule, as if to say, "How dare you suggest that women aren't victims and that men are treated with disposability?" In his book, The Myth of Male Power, Dr. Farrell spills the beans on everything he learned through his experience as a male feminist, while also pointing to the cold, hard, and indisputable facts about the female-first, primary social order that we live in.
Definition. Misogyny, hatred of, contempt for, or prejudice against women.
Although he had advocated for women for decades, his peers and critics called his observations of the facts a promotion of misogyny. One of the cold, hard truths that men need to get used to is that, whenever someone has a problem with facts, the problem isn't with the facts. The truth is, Any narrative that doesn't put the feminine first today will be manipulated, so it is therefore seen as misogyny by default.
2 definitions. Definition 1, beta bucks. Money earned and provided by men in beta status, often in pursuit of female approval. Definition 2, deadbeat dad. A disparaging term for a father who fails to provide financial support for his children.
Some of interesting facts I discovered when consuming his work included: men and women have similar mortality rates with prostate and breast cancer, yet 6 times more money is spent on researching breast cancer. 85% of homeless people in the US are men. Men get far longer prison sentences than women for exactly the same crime. In divorce, men are more often left financially broken, with little or sometimes no access to his own children, while family law enriches the mother, at his expense no less. Men, by a wide margin, enter more dangerous professions by becoming roofers, firefighters, law enforcement officers, miners, and soldiers. A whopping 94% of workplace injuries are men. Men also commute further and work longer hours than women do. So while men do often earn more, it's because men take on riskier and therefore higher-paying roles, often trying to buy their way, like the good little beta bucks they are, to female approval and love. 24 of the Fortune 500 companies are led by female CEOs. So, the state of California, in an effort to equalize outcome, but without an equality of effort or merit, passed a law in 2018 to force publicly traded companies to put more women on the boards of directors. Yet there is no such push to get more women into coal mines, offshore drilling, or on garbage trucks. In situations where a parent is required to pay child support to the other parent, men are twice as likely as women to pay child support. Yet, unlike the disparaging term deadbeat dad, there is no similar mainstream female equivalent. Perhaps deadbeat mom. More than twice as many men are the victim of violent crimes compared to women, even when including rape, and men are also 3 times more likely to be murdered. Boys are taught in a female-centric school system. From the earliest grades, schools do a better job educating girls. Women now earn a majority of associate, bachelor, master's, and doctoral degrees, and their share of college degrees increases almost every year. In every TV sitcom and commercial, men are portrayed as bumbling beta idiots, incapable of doing anything right and are the butt of all jokes, while women are praised and celebrated. These facts show us that society puts far greater value and importance on the lives of women over men. Society treats men as disposable and women as the protected sex. That's okay, because we've always valued women over men. Let's just be honest about it, rather than pushing lies about women being the oppressed, while men are the oppressors. War brides. Even throughout history, men have always been disposable, while women were valued and protected. Go back 20,000 years ago. If a hostile warring empire conquered a neighboring nation, then all men of fighting age that weren't killed during the conflict were either killed afterwards or put in chains and enslaved. Influential young boys were recruited into legions to fight for the conquerors, while women and girls were taken into the conquering army, preserved as war brides because of their value in childbearing. To put that dynamic into perspective today, it's one of the reasons why women have a far easier time getting over a breakup than men do. Women, as a function of adaptation, need to be able to adapt quickly and move from man to man easily. It's part of a woman's hypergamous nature to always seek the best male that she could get. Warring tribe wins, then the men in that tribe now become her best option for survival. Men have always been disposable protectors. Women have always selected the best men for survival, even if that meant becoming a war bride to a conquering army that killed off or enslaved their family. Toxic masculinity.
Definition. Toxic masculinity. A set of behaviors and beliefs among men characterized by an exaggerated or harmful adherence to traditional masculine norms, often involving suppression of emotions, dominance, and aggression.
We live in a time where toxic masculinity means that all masculinity is toxic. This is especially true anytime a man commits a violent crime or mass shooting. In 2018, 19-year-old Nicolas Cruz took a gun, shot, and killed 17 people at his former high school. He had his face painted all over the media, with headlines purporting that his actions were the result of toxic masculinity. The media published the following headlines after the event: How gun violence and toxic masculinity are linked, in 8 tweets. The Huffington Post 66 Toxic masculinity is killing us. The Boston Globe 66 Guns don't kill people. Men and boys kill people. Experts say. USA Today This was a boy brought into a world by an irresponsible single mother that allegedly drank alcohol during her pregnancy. Linda and Roger Cruz adopted him as an infant. 17 months later, the Cruz family learned that Nicola's biological mother gave birth to another baby boy, from a different father, who they also adopted. Roger died when Nicola's was 4, leaving Nick and his half-brother to be raised by their now single, widowed mother. Boys raised in a single-mother household have disproportionately higher crime rates and mental health issues. 73% of adolescent murderers grew up without a father. 85% of adolescents with behavioral issues originate from fatherless homes, while 85% of youths in prisons grew up in fatherless homes. From reading the articles, you quickly learn that Nicola's was never taught discipline, determination, or resiliency. He was also a product of the participation trophy generation, where everyone's a winner by default, therefore never needing to learn how to deal with defeat or rejection by women. As his belief system lacked any ability to deal with women or rejection, when he was bullied in school, and then rejected by a girl he was fond of, it wasn't surprising that he defaulted to the feminine programming he grew up on. Ultimately, resulting in an outburst of anger and resentment that led to him going on to kill his school peers that rejected him. Yet, when I searched the internet, I couldn't find one news article about how boys like Nicola's need a father growing up, or how 26 of the last 27 school shooters came from fatherless homes. With an increasing number of boys being raised by single mothers, the vast majority of teachers being female today, most boys have extraordinarily little influence from strong, virtuous male role models growing up. Toxic masculinity isn't the problem, a lack of masculinity is. You've got to learn to question societal narratives as a man. Constantly ask yourself why men are being demonized and women are praised. The way forward. The point of this chapter isn't to anger you. Rather, it's intended to expand the scope of your thinking as a man to the realities of the modern world we live in. And accepting the reality of where we stand is the first step in moving forward. The cold, hard truth.
3 definitions. Definition 1, third wave feminism. A diverse and evolving form of feminism that builds on previous waves, addressing issues such as intersectionality, power structures, and social constructs while challenging traditional gender roles. Definition 2, hypergamy. The tendency of women to seek partners of equal or higher socioeconomic status. Definition 3, spinning plates. Dating multiple women simultaneously in a non-exclusive manner.
Never forget, third-wave feminism isn't even close to being about equality. Rather, it's about female dominance and male submission. Hypergamy is an evolutionary survival technique that ensures the female, and then her kids, are looked after by the strongest, most resourceful man. Society often sees men as the disposable sex. For example, the classic women and children first approach on sinking ships or other disasters. Men make up nearly all suicides, with many of them being because of failed past relationships, especially ones that involve his kids that he's no longer allowed to see. If you can't learn to accept this way of life, then you run the very real risk of taking the black pill and becoming exceptionally jaded against all women and pursuing any type of relationship with them, whether that is spinning plates, non-exclusive LTRs, or otherwise. You can prevent this from happening by updating your belief system with healthy adaptations and then learning how to maximize your benefits while minimizing the risks. Women's rules, how they break them or make them.
Definition. Alpha male, a dominant and assertive male, often associated with leadership qualities, confidence, and attractiveness.
There is plenty of debate on what constitutes an alpha male and how to become more like one. Most men have heavy ego investments in what they believe and dictate what is what, so I think it's pointless to get into those. Instead, I'd like to defer to women. which, as we already know, are the sexual selectors, and, unlike the advice they give to men about women, their behavior won't ever lie to us. In my life, I've been both the alpha and the beta. And it depended on how effectively my belief system was operating, and also the lens in which I was viewing the world. From my personal experience, and the many men I've coached, women will always break the rules for a man she deems to be alpha.
Definition: Chad Thundercock, a slang term for a highly attractive and sexually successful alpha male.
Like the cute, good girl librarian that made you patiently wait 3 months for basic missionary sex when you were 20. She'll end up naked in bed with Chad Thundercock 15 minutes after meeting him in Ibiza at the Foam Cannon party on her 23-sup RD birthday. You can also be certain she'll be doing everything she said she wouldn't do with you with him. Never forget, women break rules for alphas and make them for betas. If every alpha had a dime for every time a woman said, "I don't normally do this," when it comes to first date sex, sex without a condom, swallowing, or some other act she might later regret, men would be rich. When women say, "I don't do that," always add to it in your head, "with you," because she'll do it with a man who she deems worthy of such sexual gymnastics. Women will always break the rules for an alpha. It always has been, and always will be, that way. Conversely, women will make rules for men who they deem to be a mere beta.
Definition: Beta male, a submissive or passive male, often characterized by a lack of confidence or assertiveness.
They will make a beta wait 8, likely expensive, dates to sleep with them. They won't perform oral for a beta, and they won't drive to a bar to meet, because it's too far for her to bother for a beta male. Women will always make rules for betas. Enter the Amazonian. It's story time. I once had a first date with a 30-something woman that I met online. She showed up around 30 pounds heavier than her pictures suggested, and also quite a bit taller than I expected. But she was cute enough to have one drink with. Women will subconsciously shit-test men all the time to see if they are alpha or beta. So, a few swigs into my beer, and she proceeded to tell me how, after some bad experiences with men, she now has an 8 dates rule before she'll sleep with them. Nearly spitting out my beer, I chuckled with amused mastery and called bullshit. I stated I don't play games, and I certainly don't negotiate desire or when sex happens. I also told her it was childish and interferes with the natural progression of the sexual dynamics and desire.
Definition: Obligated compliance. Compliance or agreement obtained through negotiation, pressure, or a sense of obligation, rather than genuine desire.
Men need to understand. Anytime you negotiate desire, it automatically creates obligated compliance, which leads to resentment, and nobody wants that. After some back-and-forth banter on the topic of her 8-date rule, with a dilation of her pupils and a huff of her giant tits in her push-up bra, she put down her girly cocktail. She looked me dead in the eyes, smirked, and said, "Okay, let's fuck right now," and made a gesture towards the bathrooms in the bar. The same woman who was previously lecturing me about her 8-date rule was ready to bang me in the bathroom. Literally, only 20 minutes after I sat down with her. It was a shit test, and I passed it with flying colors. It was also one of the few times in my life where I've passed on an aggressive sexual female advance. If a woman is placing hoops for you to jump through and tests to pass, then she is testing you as a beta, a provider. And I promise you, it'll not end in amazing, fuck me like you own me, sex. A woman will break all her rules if she views you as an alpha, every single time.
Definition: Complement, something that enhances or completes something else, rather than being the primary focus.
She will enter your frame, she will come to you, she will swallow, she will have sex with you on her period. She will enthusiastically say, "I want to feel you everywhere," and put your cock in her ass. She will make you breakfast in the morning, make your bed, do the laundry. And ultimately, if you can maintain the frame of such a dynamic on a long-term basis, she will become a complement to your life. However, a woman who's making rules for you views you as a beta, every single time. She'll make you wait for sex. You'll go to her. She won't perform oral. You'll be buying her dinner, be her shoulder to cry on, and she'll be the focus of your life. She will treat you like an emotional tampon. She'll use you to fix her car, hang shelves, and take care of her kids. All while she goes out salsa dancing with her girlfriends, where she might meet Chad Thundercock one night and then fuck him in the nightclub's bathroom. Men that operate in a beta frame end up getting cheated on far more than alpha males. They never get her best in, or out of, the bedroom, and they end up marrying women that will only ever treat them like a plow horse. As a man that she deems a beta, you will have little say in family matters, raising the kids, or financial control. You'll go to your job every week while she drops off the kids in her SUV to school or daycare. Before she sits down in a coffee shop, after yoga class, cackling with her friends about how useless their husbands are. They then complain they had to give sex to their beta husband earlier that week, while they pine for their hot yoga instructor. That same woman could have been in Ibiza for her birthday, enthusiastically fucking two cute Italian guys like a porn star and a gangbang, just moments after she met them. The alpha to beta conversion process. A woman spends years changing her man, then wonders what happened to the guy she fell in love with. Anon.
Definition: betatization, the process by which a man's dominant or assertive traits are diminished or suppressed, leading to a more submissive or passive role in a relationship.
This process takes years and can turn an alpha into a weak beta male. It's often considered to be the process of betatization by 1,000 concessions. It is one of the many catalysts that leads to the trauma that men suffer, sending them online to seek answers and the truth. This is a process I've spoken about many times in my videos, and it turns men from a pet she loves and admires to a plow horse that she sees as nothing more than a utility. A utility that she emotionally abuses and doesn't want to fuck enthusiastically anymore. If you aren't aware and you don't control the frame of the relationship, then the chances are this will happen to you. It will make you weak, soft, poor, and undesirable to your woman. The process of betatization by 1,000 concessions is a genuine threat to you as a man, especially if you cohabitate or enter into a marriage or have children. Because of women's innate hypergamous nature, women aim to marry up to a better man, so he generally earns the bulk of the income in the household. Meaning that the betatization process could end up costing you a significant part of your past, and even future, wealth in a divorce. But that's not even the worst part. Since women still get primary custody of children around 80% of the time, most men not only lose their wealth, but also their decision-making capacity around their children. Meaning that they also lose their ability to father them properly. Becoming a weak beta is one of the most dangerous things that happens to men in LTRs and marriages. It is a process that women unknowingly facilitate. And men allow it to happen because we, as men, have been told our entire lives to put her on a pedestal and to be less so that she can become more. 1,000 concessions. The timeline looks something like this. She locks down a man that she admired, wanted to fuck, and be with. Over time, he turns into the beaten-down beta plow horse that succumbs to her beck and call. He performs chores hoping for sex, and is who she ultimately no longer wants to fuck or even desires. This phenomenon usually starts with, "Honey, put your dark socks in the dark hamper, and your white socks in the white hamper for whites." It then progresses to, "Let's go vegan together." And ends at, "I love you, but I'm not in love with you, I want a divorce, so I'm taking the kids to my mother's." For a perfect illustration of what these betatized married plow horses look like, pay attention to your next few trips to the grocery store. Now stroll by the baby diaper aisle and look for the family doing their shopping. You will start to see husbands with an exhausted and beaten down look on their faces. Their kids, aged 1, 3, and 5, plus one bun in the oven, are out of control. His, now rotund, wife with her permanent, resting bitch face, scowls at him about how incompetent he is for putting the wrong diapers in the shopping cart. Once you see this happen, it can't ever be unseen. You will notice these types of men more often around you. At the mall, at your kid's soccer game, and around social gatherings with friends and family. This husband is the same man that she, many years prior, would look up to and potentially even had enthusiastically rough, monkey sex with. She would proudly present her new, pet, boyfriend for the first time over the holidays before proudly saying to her family, "This is Kevin, the VP of sales I told you all about from work."
Definition: soft next to end contact.
Heck, he was probably the same guy she would get in a quarrel with. He would hang up the phone to control the frame because he was subconsciously alpha enough to know when a soft next worked. She likely drove over at 3 a.m. that same night, after he hung up on her, to let him fuck her in the ass, something she rarely did, just to calm him down and get back into his good books. Kevin, the VP of sales, started out as an alpha, but through 1,000 concessions to placate her whims during the length of the relationship, Kevin becomes the beta. An alpha does as he pleases. He possesses the traits of strength, courage, mastery, and honor. Men want to be him, women want to be with him. When women are with him, they will enthusiastically show it. A beta, on the other hand, is on the other end of the spectrum. He is not her first choice. He is an accessory to her life, a utility, a handyman, and in many cases, she'll also treat him like an ATM. The worst form of beta is the cuckold, which is the man that gets involved with a single mother and then willingly raises the children of another man. Or worse, his wife gets knocked up by another man, and he, unknowingly, raises that child as his own. Women don't divorce alpha men they admire and look up to. They generally leave beta men that become a plow horse to them. As a man, if you want to take on the risk of marriage and kids, then you need to be on your mission, always maintain the frame, and your alpha status. Remember, in every relationship, one partner enters the other's frame. It is therefore incumbent on you, as the man, to ensure that your woman is in your frame. You cannot let the balance of that frame shift to her. Far too many men get married and actually believe the vows they take, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, till death do us part. The fact of the matter is, women divorce men all the time if the circumstances of the marriage change and she now deems you of lesser value to her. If you get fat, go broke, can't hold down a job, or are utterly useless around a house, then a woman reserves her right to untie the marriage knot. It's why I tell men all the time that taking on a marriage, or LTR, is far more work than simply dating or spinning plates, and they both come with far more risks. Never forget that, if you are going to get married or have kids, then it is imperative to control the frame, and do not allow yourself to become a beta male. The cold hard truth.
Definition: burden of performance. The expectation or pressure on men to continuously demonstrate value, success, and competence in order to maintain a woman's interest or commitment.
Never forget, women break rules for alphas and make them for betas. As unfair as it may be, the burden of performance is always on you. This means that you must always be on your A game when it comes to frame, game, and leading the relationship, more so if you're married or in an LTR. If you notice her making rules or setting conditions on areas such as when she'll have sex with you, for example, if you ever want to have sex again, then you now know that she definitely sees you as a beta and that the frame has shifted. Learn to say no. It's a complete sentence that doesn't need any further explanation. If you've been pussy whipped for years, then she'll likely be surprised, but also intrigued. Expect her to ramp up the shit tests to see if this new, more assertive you is the real deal. So, you had best make sure it is. Why genuine burning desire matters.
Definition: genuine desire, authentic and enthusiastic attraction and interest, demonstrated through consistent actions and behaviors, rather than superficial or insincere gestures.
One of the simplest concepts a man must understand is genuine desire. What it is, why it matters, and how to measure it. When you get it right, it's a superpower. But when you get it wrong, it leads you to making terrible choices, leading to poor results with women. A man will chase a woman who's indifferent to him and suddenly wife her up, only to find out, after 2 kids and 7 years of investing his blood, sweat, and tears into the relationship, she's leaving him for another man. A man she has more desire for, while simultaneously running him hard through the divorce machine. In 2018, I recorded a video in my car while heading home from the office, talking about why genuine burning desire matters with women. To find this video, search Genuine Burning Desire on my channel. I've created a simple system to make it easier to determine her interest in you. How to determine her interest.
Definition: promoter, someone who encourages something.
I've been using a measurement system in my business for over 10 years now called the Net Promoter Score, or NPS. It's a system which uses a measurement scale of 1-10. The system highlights 3 distinct levels of interest that a potential customer has in your business. You survey your customers with the question, on a scale of 1-10, how likely are you to recommend our services to a friend or colleague? When you plug in a formula after conducting your customer surveys, it tells you how much interest your customers have in your business.
Definition: detractor is someone who disparages something.
The levels of interest are a score of 9 to 10. These customers are your promoters and they love what you do. A score of 7 to 8. These customers are indifferent. They have nothing good nor bad to say about you. And finally, a score of 1 to 6. These customers are your detractors and they don't like you. You may wonder why I am applying a business measurement tool to a man's life. It's because the answers to most of the struggles we have already existed elsewhere. We simply need to identify them and then apply what works. However, we aren't interested in the NPS of you as a man. That would require sampling every woman you've either dated or are currently dating to find out what your NPS would be. It's impractical to survey so many women with such a question and expect an honest reply. But understanding how to measure desire is important, and you must know why genuine burning desire matters. Let me break down the way desire works for you. A score of 9-10 shows genuine burning desire. When a woman truly desires you, you'll know it. She'll show up on time and call or text you without you making the first attempt. She'll also respond quickly, willingly enter your frame, and compliment your life without wanting to be the focus of it. She will also ask you questions to get to know you better. She may also buy your random gifts, make you meals, and follow you closely on social media. She will even message you first on a dating app, always responding quickly. She will show up for dates with makeup and nice clothes. She'll enthusiastically fuck your brains out and swallow your load. She will also often initiate sex with you, unprovoked. When a woman genuinely desires you, it will be as obvious as taking a blow from a frying pan to the forehead. A score of 7-8 shows indifference. When women are indifferent, they frequently reschedule, cancel dates, ask for more than they give, become bitchy, and sometimes confrontational. She will shit test you often, take longer to respond to your text calls, not put much effort into her appearance when you see her, and she will rarely ask you questions to get to know you. If you message her on a dating app, she'll be slow to respond. Her interest in the bedroom will also not be very high either. She'll be far less likely to want to suck your cock, and she'll rarely initiate sex with you. When a woman is indifferent to you, it will be obvious. A score of 1 to 6 shows they're a detractor. When women are detractors, they will not respond to your calls or texts, and they will not go out on dates with you. They will not follow you on social media, and if you message them on dating apps, they will not respond. When a woman is a detractor, it will be obvious. Every man, when dealing with a woman on a romantic level, should always gauge her interest in him by watching her behavior. He must respond accordingly by only allocating his valuable time, energy, and resources on the woman who shows him a strong, genuine, burning desire. Be attractive, not unattractive. Men are natural problem solvers. So, your next logical question is, how do I create such an enthusiastic desire in her so she signals a clear indicator of interest in me? The answer is that you can't manufacture it. It must be natural. You must be a man that is desirable. You must be a man that exudes confidence, competence, and strength. It's unlikely that a woman with only a detractor level of interest in you will ever enthusiastically become a promoter and want to fuck you. It's not that it can't happen. I've had plenty of women over the years, from my past, that may have been passively interested in me back then, only to express a much higher desire later on down the road as my sexual market value, or SMV, had greatly improved. This often happens when she deems that her SMV has gone down as the wall does its work, all while watching your SMV go up as you approach your own SMV peak later in life. For a definition of what the wall is, check out the glossary at the back of the book. However, at the end of the day, you must ask yourself, why would you want to get involved with a woman that gave her best to someone else, making you her second choice? The genuine burning desire you receive from a woman must be organic. You cannot manufacture it or negotiate it. Anytime you negotiate desire, you get obligated compliance in return, which only leads to resentment further down the line. You can, however, work on yourself. In fact, it is the only part of the universe that you can control. If you are fat, fix it. If you are broke, fix it. If you don't understand game, learn it. If you are socially insignificant, learn to become influential. These aspects are truly within your control. Some men will argue that they are short and that their height is out of their control. True, but if you aren't tall, then do the work to be a fit, rich, smooth, short badass. If you are not a high-value man that commands a high level of attention, then you cannot expect a 10 to want to rip off your clothes enthusiastically and jump your bones.
Definition: return on investment, the value gained in relation to the cost.
Your highest return on investment, or ROI, in life will always be that of being a man of vision, purpose, and who is always chasing excellence. Gauging your SMV. Ask yourself the question: on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the absolute best version of myself, and with 1 being the worst, where would I place myself right now? It's important to note that you aren't comparing yourself to anyone else. It's only about you. A perfect 10 would mean that you have already achieved the level of wealth, self-care, success, income, desirability, social recognition, and community that you couldn't do much better. You live where you want, drive cars you love, take vacations when and where you want. You look masculine and strong, women are constantly seeking your attention, and you never worry about money. If you are rating yourself a 6 or lower, then I'd suggest limiting your dating, or perhaps stop dating entirely, and go fix yourself before you go chasing after women. Your ROI on the time invested with women will be low, and you will probably become frustrated with your results. Because of hypergamy, women always seek men who are a few points higher than them on the SMV scale. So, as a man, you have the burden of performance to do the work on yourself. Remember, men are made, women are born. You need to do the work on yourself if you want to be successful with women. Never forget that women have always viewed men as success objects, whereas men have always viewed women as sex objects. Validational sex versus transactional sex.
Definition: validational sex, sexual activity motivated by a desire for external approval, recognition, or confirmation of one's attractiveness.
Women with a high level of desire for you will have sex with you for validation. They crave it, and it's enthusiastic. When women have validational sex, the risk of her claiming either a Me Too or a false rape claim allegation, after the fact, is almost zero. I've seen women who crave that validational sex from me drive 45 minutes, in the middle of the night, during a work week, and throw down a dark towel to fuck me enthusiastically on their period. When women fuck a man for validation, her vagina is soaking wet, your bed will be wet. She will do anything to please you, including swallowing your load, or do anal first, and then swallow your load. There is virtually no limit to what a woman will do with a man that she has an enthusiastic and genuine desire for.
Definition: transactional sex, sexual activity motivated by a desire for material or other gains rather than affection.
Indifferent women will either have transactional sex with you or try to use it as a negotiation tool. It's women that have transactional sex that are more likely to claim a Me Too or false rape accusation against you, just because they regretted their choice at a later date.
Definition: coreplay, the performance of household chores by a man in the hopes of receiving sexual gratification from his female partner.
When women have transactional sex with you, her vagina isn't soaking wet. She won't do much in bed, and it will often come with some requirements in exchange for the intimacy she's giving you. There's a growing trend amongst beta men who are resigned to doing coreplay. Coreplay is defined as a man who is doing the household chores that the female would normally do in exchange for sex. Simply put, you cannot negotiate genuine desire with a woman. Once you start down the path of transactional sex, the clock starts counting down to the end of the relationship. If a woman won't do something sexual, then, in your head, add "with you" to the end of her statement when she declines it. For example, when she says, "I won't do anal." Then add "with you" to the end. Make no mistake about it, she will enthusiastically do it for validation with a man that she has a genuine, burning desire for. Conclusion. It's absolutely vital that you only invest your limited time in women whose actions show you, beyond any doubt, that she has nothing but a genuine, burning desire for you. However, never forget that the burden of performance always rests firmly at your feet. It's up to you, and no one else, to become the top-tier man that commands that level of genuine desire from a high-value woman. The cold, hard truth. Never forget, your highest ROI in life will always be that of being a man of vision, purpose, and who is always chasing excellence. Negotiated desire only ever leads to resentment from both parties down the road. Rest assured, once you've experienced the pleasures of a woman who displays a genuine desire and attraction to you, it'll be easy for you to spot anything less from that point on. 20 red flags. On my YouTube channel, I often reference the phrase, "She has more red flags than a Chinese communist parade." In this chapter, I want to dive a little deeper into the riskiest red flags that men need to be aware of as they navigate their life around women. I've made plenty of these mistakes myself and have counseled hundreds of men who have done the same. Therefore, it's essential, for your own well-being, that you do not ignore these red flags. Keep in mind that you can pursue a deep relationship with a woman who displays any of these red flags. However, in my estimation, the juice simply isn't worth the squeeze, and the risks far outweigh any reward. If you are a woman reading this chapter and you identify with a red flag, then don't get upset. Instead, like I keep reminding men, work on yourself, take ownership, and seek counseling. As many men have observed, the wrong woman can ruin your life if you let her in it. Therefore, learning how to spot red flags early is an essential skill for men to master. Even though this chapter covers the 20 major ones I've identified, plenty of others exist, so keep your eyes open. If you choose to involve yourself with any of these types of women, then my advice, unless otherwise stated, is to limit your interaction to a friends with benefits, or FWB, relationship, and to keep spinning plates. As soon as you identify one or more of these red flags, limit her to plate status, or pass on them and make no further emotional investment in either her or in a relationship with her. There are women out there that will add value to your life if you keep the wrong ones out. I'm also approaching this chapter with the assumption that you are a man of purpose that values his own masculinity, strength, and traditional male competence. Beta men constantly make concessions and excuses while accepting red flags, whereas a high-value alpha male keeps chasing excellence and his purpose in life. He doesn't let problem women interfere with his life's mission. Red flag 1: Daddy issues.
Definition. Daddy issues. Psychological or emotional problems resulting from an unhealthy or absent relationship with one's father.
If she doesn't have a friendly relationship with her father, or had an acrimonious relationship with him growing up, then she likely has a variety of daddy issues. Whether her mother pushed her dad out of her life, or that he was absent, or perhaps he was disinterested in being a dad and instead acted as a piece of furniture in the house. Either way, any woman that didn't have a solid relationship with a strong, masculine, and virtuous father in her life will not value a masculine, virtuous alpha man. If she didn't value her father, what makes you think she will value you? I've counseled far too many men that have tried far too hard to rescue women with daddy issues. It's never worth your time. Another area of concern with daddy issues is that it's often tied into borderline personality disorder, or BPD. Women with BPD frequently originate from fatherless homes, which breeds their fear of abandonment. This fear continues as they become adults, where they will presume that they will, once again, be abandoned. They then act out in such a way that will make abandonment certain. BPD women are so dangerous because they operate in extremes. They can be freaks in the sheets and then immediately act like a classy lady on the street. A BPD woman can quickly go from hot to frigid cold. Such BPD women can hook a guy in by pretending to be a caring, loving, and nurturing woman. A BPD woman can create the false sense of perfection that makes you say, "Wow, a woman who finally loves, respects, and appreciates me." Asking her, "Tell me about your parents growing up," early on helps you to identify and then filter out women with daddy issues. Remember that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so use them in that ratio. Ask, then listen. She will often tell you her story. I've had my fair share of experiences with women who had daddy issues, and they are never worth your time, effort, or resources. A woman's father is her primary role model growing up and provides the foundation that governs her belief system, and includes the lens in which she views both men and women and how they should interact. However, the origin of her issues is irrelevant because, if she expresses disdain for her father, she is unlikely to value men. Single mother households, especially feminist ones, are a petri dish for today's women with daddy issues. A feminist-identifying mother will instill toxic values in her daughter. Instead of valuing you, you'll be deemed as a privileged male and will be resented for your masculinity. After my divorce, I dated a woman who had 3 older siblings. Her mother became a widow before my ex was born. Instead of being a single mother of 3, she optimized her hypergamy and looked for a beta provider. She eventually had a 4th child, my ex-girlfriend, with her second husband. My ex's mother died of cancer while she was in her early 20s. When I asked about her relationship with her father, she claimed unforgivable indiscretions that her father was responsible for. She painted her mother as a feminist saint and her father as an abusive, misogynist cheater and child abuser. While we were dating, my ex went almost 20 years without contact with her father. She unsurprisingly identified as a feminist, became a single mother of 2 herself, and subsequently had little regard for men and masculinity, unless it served value to her and her children. She then dismissed them once she capitalized on their value.
Definition: solipsistic, the theory that only the self exists or can be known.
While she constantly battled her internal conflict to find a high-value man, she also resented masculine energy and claimed that men didn't subscribe to her solipsistic feminist beliefs.
Definition: epiphany phase, a phase in a woman's life where DNA yells at her to have babies.
My ex ran away from Canada after her mother died to teach English in Asia. She then partied through her young adult years with many men there, came back at her epiphany phase, married a beta male that pined for her at 28 to fulfill her biological clock, before promptly divorcing him at 38 when she deemed that he no longer served any purpose to her. A popular video on my channel called 3 Women Men Should Avoid Dating was based on the multiple women that I had dated that had 1. Daddy issues, 2. Needed saving, 3. Fought with her children's father. These types of women will never take ownership for their own lives. When I did that video titled 3 Women Men Should Avoid Dating on my channel, women with daddy issues sputtered their insecurities in the comment section. I briefly touched on this in the previous Daddy Issues, Red Flag. Many Western women today either identify as a feminist or have welcomed toxic feminist beliefs into their schools of thought. They're indoctrinated to believe that men are privileged, that men hold women back, and that men succumb to the patriarchy. Thankfully, the devout lifetime feminists are typically easy to spot. They avoid traditional feminine cues and instead opt for shorter, unnaturally dyed hair colors. Think bright blue, purple, or red, mutilate their body with several tattoos and/or facial piercings, are often overweight and usually dress in ill-fitted clothes. Compared to keeping themselves fit, well-dressed, and groomed to maintain their physical appeal to men. Feminism preaches radically leftist political views that fight for unlimited free abortion, elevate single mothers on a pedestal, and claim that masculinity is toxic. Feminists hate it when the state imposes limits on abortion and tries to force them to be mothers. However, they more than happily use state family law to force men to be fathers. Feminism teaches women to vote for the welfare state, massive government handouts, huge tax rates on top income earners, and social programs that widely benefit a female primary social order. A feminist will never appreciate you or value you as a man. Feminism teaches women to be victims, and anyone with a victim mindset can't find happiness. Today's version of feminism is so toxic that it is anti-femininity. It encourages women to hate men, while simultaneously encouraging them to behave like men, and that they should ditch the notion of motherhood to prioritize their careers. Feminism doesn't seek to make women better or more feminine. Feminism seeks to make women into terrible versions of men. Ownership is a concept that most women struggle with. However, feminists are often completely unfamiliar with it, and so everything will be the fault of the patriarchy. Therefore, avoid any woman that identifies as a feminist at all costs. Since the Me Too movement, we have seen several exceptional men fall to the false claims of sexual harassment or rape, and the vast majority of these false charges originated from feminist women. Sadly, even feminine cues are not enough anymore. There are plenty of women out there that identify with feminist values that remain feminine in appearance, and these are the ones you must be the most careful with, as they are on a transformational path to obesity, collecting cats, and eventually short and brightly colored hair. If you are getting into an LTR, or are even considering marriage, it is vital that you give yourself a good 2 years to watch both her behavior and her choices in life. Pay close attention to her before you do something silly, like marrying a woman that appears feminine, but internally idealizes feminist propaganda. Red flag 3, the unhappy and unlucky. Robert Greene's 10th law states, avoid the unhappy and unlucky. If you haven't read the 48 Laws of Power, do yourself a favor and read it, and always avoid the unhappy and unlucky. And while this doesn't only apply to women, I note it here in this chapter, as these types of women are a complete waste of your time. Their perpetual unhappiness will rob you of your joy. Such women always have some problem going on in their life that attracts the Captain Save-A-Ho type of guys to swoop in and rescue them from their own shitty existence and choices in life. The unhappy and the unlucky often go from man to man, draining them of their joy and fortune. They are a magnet for drawing drama into their life and yours. Therefore, only associate with the happy and lucky. Red flag 4, she competes with you. A woman that constantly tries to compete with you might seem cute at first, but it's a test of your competency as a man, and it's an underhanded behavior that ultimately aims to reduce your worth to her. The female primary social order tells women that they are better than men, and it's why we see the rise of the boss girl on social media. I once dated a woman that competed with her brother growing up, and that competitive behavior continued into her relationship with me. It's a red flag because when women compete against you, she thinks she is better than you. A woman that thinks she is better than you will not respect you and will, ultimately, try to undermine you. For a woman to satisfy her hypergamy, she must feel like she is with a man that, in her eyes, has at least 1 to 2 sexual market value, or SMV, points more than she does. A woman won't try to compete with you when she believes your value is greater, she will instead admire you. Remember, women want to be with a giant. She wants to look up to you. Hypergamy never seeks its own level. Hypergamy can only be satisfied if it does better than itself. A woman constantly competing with her LTR, or husband, is always a prelude to a train wreck. Red flag 5, keeps men from her past around. Women like to have options. A recent survey showed that almost half of all married women admitted to having a backup plan, aka, another guy. If you're getting into an LTR and she wants you to abandon your sexual strategy of unlimited access to unlimited women, then she needs to burn the ship on the shores of her new life with you and cut all emotional ties with other men.
Definition: Alpha widow, a woman who pines for a past relationship with a high-value man who did not commit to her.
Now, some women end up as an alpha widow. An alpha widow is a woman who pines for that high-value alpha that didn't commit to her in her earlier years. She may not be in contact with him anymore. However, if she still sees him as the one that got away, and she keeps a place for him in her head and therefore in her heart, then she will never see you as her best option. It's imperative that she has a genuine, burning desire for you. You don't want to be good enough. You want to ensure that you are getting her absolute best. Trust me when I say that no good ever comes from her having lunch with ex-boyfriends or other male friends, and you certainly do not want to be the guy she settled for. If you are a man that is chasing excellence in his life, then you don't need distractions like your woman seeking attention from, or still pining for, other men. Men and women have little in the way of common interests, other than men wanting to have sex with women and women wanting to extract attention or resources from men. There should be no room for male friends in her life if you are in an LTR. Women like this should be a plate, at least until they can prove that they are over their past. Red flag 6. Poor with money. Some of you may know this already from my videos, but I'm well versed on financial services from my past businesses, and when women are bad with money, it's often serious trouble. If she is an adult and doesn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, then she is not to even be considered for an LTR. I've seen far too many men trying to play Captain Save-A-Ho and bail out women with horrendous debt and terrible spending habits. Despite the lie feminism has told women that they only earn 75 cents for every dollar a man earns, women have every opportunity to earn a good living today. Yet, women still continue to choose careers that pay less than men, while going into deep debt by overspending. Ultimately, if she can't manage her monthly cash flow and has nothing but a pile of handbags and shoe collection to show for her debt, avoid her for anything more than a FWB, because she will make her financial problems your problem. Red flag 7. Violent women. Women that have violent tendencies are a massive red flag. Early signs of violence are as small as a punch or a shove. However, I've counseled many men that have dodged knife attacks or even objects being thrown at them from their angry woman that was having a hissy fit. Men are physically stronger than women, so when there is a domestic violence call into the police, even if you are the innocent party making the call or defending yourself, it's likely that they will take you away in handcuffs rather than her. In most domestic violence cases, men are automatically presumed guilty and women are protected, even if she was the one starting the physical abuse. I've seen peaceful men, during a divorce, removed from their own home and children because a violent woman accused her husband of domestic violence that never happened. Violence from any woman towards you, for any reason, should never ever be tolerated and is grounds for terminating the relationship immediately. To protect themselves, men must use their cell phone as a shield and record a video of her erratic behavior as proof for the authorities. If I haven't made my point clear enough yet, avoid all violent women at all costs. They aren't even worth an FWB arrangement. When it comes to violent women, the juice truly isn't worth the squeeze. Red flag 8. Extreme jealousy. Women want to be with a man that other women want to fuck, but they don't want their man fucking other women. This dichotomy of female nature is something that men will always struggle with. A degree of jealousy, also known as competition anxiety, is an excellent thing as it keeps her working hard to keep you. But it becomes undesirable when the women are so insecure in themselves that they always make her problems your problems, distracting you from your purpose. They will be like a predator drone, always keeping watch on you. She will constantly text, scan through your receipts to see where you've been, what was ordered on the receipt, look for hairs that aren't hers. She'll want to look in your phone, creep on women that follow and like your social posts, and count the number of condoms in your nightstand drawer. It's exhausting. She will drain you of your sanity, joy, and dignity. Jealous women have work to do on themselves, and it's honestly not your job to be their therapist. Red flag 9. Party girls. Most women under the age of 27 that have never been in an LTR are in their party years. If you met your girl in a nightclub, bar, or other social event, and she claims to be relationship material, but still continues to party several nights a week, you have two options. 1. Tell her that women with boyfriends don't go out partying, and if she continues, you walk away. 2. Keep her as a plate only. The party years aren't exclusive to women under 27 either. Sometimes, she was married young, had kids, and got divorced in her 30s and missed her party years. So, it's not uncommon to see women in other stages of their life trying to relive that missed party era as an older woman. You can't be in an exclusive LTR with a woman if she is going out partying with her friends regularly. The process involves 2 hours of preparation time in her hair, makeup, and clothes for the main purpose of marketing herself to other men. If she is going out selling herself to others, she is not your woman. Men have evolved to require fidelity from the woman they have invested in as a step in ensuring paternity. This is not jealousy. Most men instinctively want to know that his woman is sexually exclusive with him.
Definition: polyamory, the practice of engaging in multiple romantic relationships with the consent of all partners involved.
Do not fall for the new age beta male narrative of polyamory. It is a mating strategy for weak beta men that must resign himself to sharing a woman with alpha men. When there is a conflict between what she is saying and doing, and she is acting single when she goes out to party, then believe the action, never the words. Actions always speak louder than words. I dated a few party girls, and their phones would always be going off at 2 a.m. from guys looking to hook up. Avoid party girls for LTRs and never limit yourself to one woman if you are dating a party girl. Only spin her as a plate. Red flag 10, heavily tattooed and pierced women. I realize some men prefer women with some ink, and there will be men that will debate me on this. However, my experiences have taught me that their placement and frequency matters. One tattoo hidden in her bikini line isn't much to worry about. However, if she has a tramp stamp, or more than one visible tattoo while wearing normal clothing, then you might want to ask yourself what she is saying to the world. Tattoos all over a beautiful woman is like putting bumper stickers all over a Lamborghini. You don't do it as it shows a lack of taste. I've never met a woman with several visible tattoos that didn't bring at least 3 or more red flags to the table. Heavily pierced women are another red flag. Draw the line at earrings, and if you want to push the limits, a nose ring. But if that piercing is on her septum, nipple, clitoris, and eyebrow, or she even has multiple ear piercings up one ear, then keep in mind that you are dealing with someone that enjoys mutilating their own body, which is a red flag. Red flag 11, big notch counts. The most attractive quality in a woman is when you know she hasn't been with everybody and has her own standards. Setting aside the higher probability of her having an STD, multiple conducted studies have proven that the younger the age a woman loses her virginity at, and the higher the number of men she's slept with ACA. Her notch count often results in her being far less likely to bond monogamously to a man, in a healthy way, over a long period of time. For example, a woman that lost her virginity at 14 and has slept with 30 men is far less likely to bond monogamously to you over the long term. Compare that to a woman who lost her virginity at 23 and has only slept with 2 men in long-term relationships. If you want to get into a monogamous LTR or take on the risk of marriage, then do it with a woman with a low notch count that lost her virginity later on in life. Research conducted by the Institute for Family Studies revealed that a virgin has a 5% chance of divorce after 5 years of marriage, whereas a woman with 2 previous partners has a 30% chance of divorce. The data stopped at 10 partners, which showed a 35% chance of divorce. Promiscuous women that have had many partners and/or have been sexually active from a young age do not make good long-term partners. It's not to say they can't, or won't, try to be a girlfriend or wife. But the statistics reveal how undesirable these women are long-term, and that's why they should be treated as an FWB and nothing more. Women with a higher notch count are also more likely to report depression, become single mothers, have personality disorders, and have abortions compared to women with lower notch counts. Women must preserve their value, men must create their value. It's why, throughout history, women's virginity was so prized. Whereas, a man's value comes from his ability to make something out of himself so he can provide, preside, and protect. I should note that women will never reveal the truth about their notch count to you, so don't bother asking to get an authentic number. Some may volunteer it. Be wary of any number they throw out, as women often fear being slut-shamed. Women only usually factor in relationships as part of their notch count, and they often disregard all the one-night stands, threesomes, lesbian encounters, or FWB relationships that they had in the past. At a bare minimum, double whatever number she gives you. The lifestyle and company a woman keeps reflects her notch count. A woman that you meet at 30 that claims she was in an LTR from the time she lost her virginity at 23 probably has a low notch count. But women with an absence of any drama-free LTRs in her past, that lived on her own, traveled a lot, and you met her at 35 could have a notch count approaching triple digits or more. It's not uncommon for women in their party years, 20 to 27, to rack up a notch count of 25 or more men. Never forget, women become the average of the 5 people she spends the most time with. If 5 of her friends are, or were sluts, then she will be the 6th. Red flag 12, single mothers. Do not be a cuck, do not raise another man's child. There is absolutely nothing in it for you as a man. You do not pass on your own DNA, they do not have your last name, and cuckoldry shackles you with 100% of the responsibility as a parent, but you have 0% authority. Some men choose an FWB arrangement because it's low-hanging fruit. However, I've dated single mothers when I was blue-pilled, and trust me, do not date, live with, or marry a single mother. It's not worth it. See my video, Why Men Shouldn't Date Single Mothers, on my YouTube channel. Look, I've counseled hundreds of men that have made the mistake of living with a single mother in such a way that the state views as a marriage. Guess what? They have been on the hook to pay child support for kids they didn't even father. In one case I counseled, a man was married for less than 2 years. He paid off over $100,000 of her debt, and she brought 2 special needs kids to the table with her. She wanted out and was taking him to court for child support, for life. Do not be a cuck. Red flag 13, women seeking validation. Social media is a staple in today's world, and almost all women are on it. However, women who use public social media to gain attention from men should be avoided. While there are no good girls on social media, the better ones will use private accounts, meaning that only friends and family can see their posts and they aren't posting provocative pictures, fishing for likes, comments, and direct messages from men providing loads of attention and validation. Public accounts using social media to sell a product or service and treating it like a business are okay. But understand she will still have men flirting with her. The women posting daily provocative pictures of themselves on public accounts, with thousands of thirsty beta males following them, are selling something too, their sexual agency. Women like this are openly optimizing their hypergamy. If she is with you, but is still posting pictures for attention, then she is asking herself if you are the best that she can get.
Definition: open hypergamy, a woman actively seeking a more desirable partner while in a relationship.
Most women can become drunk on social media attention. So, if you consider an LTR with a woman that is constantly seeking attention online, then you need to continue to exercise your sexual strategy and date her non-exclusively until she abandons her open hypergamy. A woman's sexual strategy is open hypergamy, and when she is seeking attention online, she is out playing on the ice, trying to score a goal. Your sexual strategy as a man is unlimited access to unlimited women. Therefore, do not even consider monogamy until she abandons advertising herself. Do not take these women seriously. They are to be limited to plate or FWB status only. Red flag 14, she was a sugar baby. In a book by author B. Rob titled Salty, the author shares his excursion into sugar dating as a salt daddy. He also figured out how to identify if a woman has ever been looking for money in exchange for dating as a sugar baby. You will need to search in her email for the term seeking and see if there are any emails sent from the site in her past that show up. This will require that you look into her private life. But if you are looking for LTR material, then you need to take this step to ensure that you aren't going to make a whore a housewife. If she was a sugar baby, limit her to plate status only. Red flag 15, pathological liars. Everyone, women included, lie. Many women, however, can't help but to lie pathologically. For some, their entire world is a house of cards, and they can't even tell when they are speaking the truth or not. These women are not LTR material because they aren't trustworthy. Fortunately, these types of women usually out themselves over time because they can't keep up with their own bullshit. A girlfriend I had at 19 lied about everything and anything. I was riding sport bikes, and she told me early on how she had a sport bike at her mom's house an hour away. Although strangely, it was never available for her to ride, or she had it locked up in storage. There was always a story about how she rode and enjoyed the experience, but always made excuses about where the bike was. I was becoming suspicious of her stories. Knowing it cost me $9 to fill up the tank of my bike, I casually asked her how much it cost to top up her bike tank when she rode. She responded with 25. Right there, I knew she was a pathological liar, and many of her other stories collapsed shortly after that.
Definition: birth control methods or devices used to prevent pregnancy.
Pathological liars are dangerous. They will tell you they are on birth control when they aren't. They'll lie about things that will put you or your health at risk. If you are attentive and poke at her stories, then these women are simple to spot. Red flag 16 baby rabies. This is an interesting term I came across after I got divorced and re-entered the dating pool around 39. I had this annoying feeling that most of the childless women in the dating pool were desperate to get married and have children. Some of them were so thirsty to get married and have kids that they would even ask if that's what I wanted before asking me anything else. Sometimes it was even in their opening message on a dating application. It felt like they were looking for a dutiful beta with sufficient provisioning ability and decent genes to settle down with. Women exhibiting desperation to get married and reproduce are not into you and will not support your mission. They will not complement your life, but will instead want to be the focus of your life. Any women attempting to rush you into having kids and getting married without allowing for a 2-year vetting period is a big red flag. But if you feel that you are simply an accessory to fulfilling her biological imperative to reproduce, or that she is counting her eggs every month as they dry up, she has baby rabies. Move on and don't let her problems become your problem. Many of these women put degrees and careers ahead of their prime childbearing years. As they approach their mid-30s, they grow desperate. Remember, men can capably father healthy children well into their 40s. For women, their prime childbearing years decrease rapidly after the age of 30. Some women never learned the social maturity required to process their emotions, so they resort to hissy fits to deal with their differences in a relationship. When my daughter was 3, if something didn't go her way, she threw herself on the ground, face down, then kicked and punched with her limbs at the ground while screaming. This is the toddler version, and it's excusable in a child, because they don't know how to process their emotions with maturity when something doesn't work out for them, so they start kicking and screaming. In an adult woman, hissy fits are an unacceptable red flag and come in many forms. Rather than approaching the issue head-on like an adult, she'll commonly start by passive-aggressively going on social media to post something revealing and sexy, behave erratically, or make underhanded posts about you. One says, "Hey fellas, I'm over here and my man pissed me off. Look at me and shower me with validation and attention." The other is a passive-aggressive maneuver to shame or ridicule you, usually with some covert statement or meme.
Definition: trite, lacking originality or freshness, dull on account of overuse.
Hissy fits cover a wide range and include, but aren't limited to, overtly stating something like, "Just leave my shit on the front porch," when things aren't going their way. Or using actions like hiring a male personal trainer you know she was fucking in the past and posting a picture on social media of themselves together with some trite caption about how, "This girl will get her body back," in an effort to push your buttons. These outbursts by women are bad news, and I've noticed that there is often a correlation between her hissy fits and daddy issues. I've seen fathers set logical and reasonable boundaries for their daughters to preserve her value as a woman, and she broke them in a rebellious and dangerous way in protest. For example, a traditional European father will often set limits on when his daughters can date, and in what cultures. A woman with daddy issues that can't respect the boundaries set by a man will go out with, and intentionally have plenty of unprotected sex with, men from cultures that she knows her father would be vehemently opposed to. Deal with hissy fits head-on and treat them as unacceptable behavior. Otherwise, you'll constantly deal with them in your relationship. Also, do not argue with women. They will not let a thing like logic or reason get in the way of their emotional hissy fit. You set the boundary, then cut off all contact, called a soft next, with her for about 4 to 5 days to let her think about it. Remember, attention is the coin of the realm for women, so when you remove it, they lose their mind and will usually automatically fall back in line. She will either comply or it's goodbye. Most women, because of their own solipsistic nature, will not recognize it as a hissy fit, even if you spell it out for them. So be resolute. You will get out of life what you tolerate. Do not argue with her about her hissy fit. Men are deductive, rational thinkers, women aren't. Therefore, a soft next allows you to return to the table with a boundary you set. If she doesn't like it, show her the door. A woman that has a genuine, burning desire for you and is serious about sorting herself out will do the work. A woman that isn't will resist,